Hi, folks. Welcome to Crisco's Corner. Unfiltered commentary. And that's your truth, the real truth. Please like, share, and subscribe. And as always, thank you for your support. Welcome back from the Federalist. This is the individual, the Capitol Police officer. His name is Harry Dunn. He's the one that had the stirring testimony of how he was trapped behind a door and how they organized to break the door in and get in, and teary-eyed. And now, this guy is huge. He's got to be 6'6", 6'7", easy. I saw one of his Twitter posts that he wears a size 15 shoe. He's a big man. Strong man, I'm sure. And when it comes to witnesses, unless, of course, this is just reality TV in a show trial, so to speak, credibility of witnesses is important. Extremely important. But this isn't about telling the truth. Is what happened at the Capitol January 6th ridiculous and dangerous and outrageous and stupid and violent? Absolutely. And the people that actually cause violence, i.e. breaking things, breaking down doors, injuring people, I think there's no one that would say they should get off scot-free. Yes, the law should come down heavy on them, just for the symbolism of the Capitol building. But let's read on. This is interesting. Teary-eyed Capitol Police officer who testified about the January 6th previously defended violent George Floyd riots in Kenosha. Oh, really? Let's read on. Harry Dunn, the teary-eyed U.S. Capitol officer who testified in Speaker of the House Pelosi's politicized January 6th committee, previously defended the violent riots that shook the nation last summer and caused billions in damage. And many riots killed dozens and dozens and dozens of people, ruined tens of thousands of lives forever. And that was okay by him. Because this guy's a tribalist. He's a zealous. So you take his credibility into account when he testifies. In a tweet directed at Fox News' Tucker Carlson last August, Dunn asked, why is murder an appropriate response to property damage, but property damage isn't an appropriate response to murder? What the F are you talking about? Murder is never a proper response under any circumstances. This is what he's talking about. This is a tweet from Tucker Carlson. Remember, this is the gentleman that had the commission on. It was a dramatic moment. It was just real reality TV, non-scripted, pure human emotion. Yeah, okay. Kenosha devolved into anarchy because the authorities abandoned the people. Now, this is Tucker Carlson from August of last year. Those in charge, from the governor on down, refused to enforce the law. They stood back and watched Kenosha burn. Are we really surprised that looting and arson accelerated to murder? Yeah, what he's trying to say is that you let people get away with things, they'll escalate it to the next level. I don't see anything wrong with that statement at all. So this genius says, why is murder an appropriate response to property damage if property damage is an appropriate response to murder? Jesus, really? In addition to cheering on the destructive behavior of rioters last summer that were linked to more than 30 deaths, while hypocritically condemning those of the Capitol riots, Dunn repeatedly and publicly berated former President Donald Trump for being a racist in chief. Now, is this gentleman, and I'll give him respect, he is a Capitol Police officer, does this gentleman have a right to his opinion about any topic at all? You betcha. You bet. But do you think it's professional being as a Capitol police officer? Now, here's the funny part. Where was Mr. Dunn's outrage in June of last year when thousands and thousands of rioters were literally at the White House lawn? Burnt down 2 Secret Service outposts. Almost burned down across the street from the White House a 200-plus-year-old church, a church that James Madison went to and almost every president since. Know what you got from him? Here's the official response from Mr. Dunn when over 105, I believe, officers were hurt during those riots, set fire to several buildings and outposts, and injured over 70 Secret Service agents. Here is Mr. Dunn's response to that. Well, thank you, Mr. Dunn, for that spiffy commentary. This guy's a zealous. He's a tribalist. Can he be and still be a Capitol Police officer? Sure. But you're going to take this man's testimony credibly? Really? Unbelievable. Here we have Dunn referring to the 45th president, someone he was sworn to protect at the Capitol during presidential State of the Union address as the racist-in-chief, all the while praising Jew-hating, pro-terrorist Representative Ilhan Omar. And he actually said this. Racism is so American that when you protest it, people think that you are protesting America. Really, Mr. Dunn? Really? Well, let's take a look at a couple of Mr. Dunn's posts, and there's one of them there where it said, racism is so American, when you protest it, people think you're protesting America. How about this beauty? From Harry A. Dunn, same gentleman. I hate at Tucker Carlson, what an out-of-touch asshole that has no clue about anything that doesn't look like him or agree with him. This is long before the January 6th insurrection. And there's his proof, of course. American slavery, segregation. And by the way, we weren't Americans till 1780s to be technical. It was a British possession. In fact, they were going to put in the Declaration of Independence, one of the reasons for independence was the importation of African slaves to the New World, as they called it back then, by the British Crown, the British sovereignty. It was the British that brought them in. And of course, in the lower part of the United States, it was the Portuguese and Spanish. Even if Nazi Germany, the SS troopers that were rounding up Jews and murdering them, saw films of what the Spaniards did to slaves in the 1617s and early 1800s, even the Nazis would blush and go, oh, whoa, wait a minute. That's brutal. So let's cut through the crap. Yes, there was segregation. Yep. I was born in 56. And then the Civil Rights Act and Dr. King and all that stuff. And we've come a long ways, but slavery is not an American invention. It still goes on. In fact, interesting little side note. Take a guess what year Saudi Arabia officially, through its government, made slavery illegal. Now I'll do the little do-do-do, the little Jeopardy tune. And the answer is 1974. The year I got out of high school, Saudi Arabia officially made slavery illegal. So you know what, sir? You don't know what you're talking about. Laura Ingraham said, Americans need to know dates certain when this will end. The uncertainty for businesses, parents, and kids is not just sustainable. That's concerning the lockdowns. Unbelievable. And then, of course, Mr. Dunn, the White House, treating these congressional subpoenas like black people treat utility disconnection notices. Throw it in the trash without even opening it. Are you kidding, sir? Just how racist are you? Black people treat a disconnection notice from utility in a certain way? Did you see this? These people are tribalists. They're brainwashed fools. Unbelievable. We deserve justice, Harry Dunn. We weren't just police officers there. We were victims of an assault, and we deserve justice, and we deserve to know everybody who was involved, and we want them accountable. Yes, the ones that committed violence, absolutely. The ones that acted like asshats, absolutely, but fairness. But here's the kicker. Here's the kicker, Mr. Dunn. This was in January 2001. Just 6 months prior, June 2020. Thousands of rioters around the White House. Capitol Police, probably including yourself, and Secret Service. They burnt down 2 Secret Service outposts. They almost burned down over 200-year-old church. And nothing from you. Where was your outrage on your Twitter account then? Is there any evidence at all that you had any outrage on your fellow officers? You got nothing. Almost 200 people injured, law enforcement. Where were your crocodile tears then? Where were they? Amazing, isn't it? Unbelievable. Why? Because Donald Trump was the president? You ass. You're arrogant and you're just brainwashed. And here's the weird part. You know, he is entitled to his opinion, and he is entitled to run his mouth. But here's the funny part. When they were doing the so-called electoral count, and hundreds, actually thousands, of National Guard troops were basically held down Washington, D.C., basically took it over as a military camp. And when the National Guard came in, Nancy Pelosi had the military screen all the National Guard people for their political beliefs, and I believe 3 or 4 of them were dismissed because they liked Trump or they were very conservative. But where's the litmus test for the Capitol Police officers? You're entitled to your own opinion, so are the National Guard troops. But somehow it's a different standard. It's insane. Absolutely insane. Your outrage is so ridiculously one-sided. This is what happens. And they're in every part of government now. Here's the other thing, Mr. Dunn, if you can answer this. That's why I wish there were Republicans on that committee that ask real questions. Like Mr. Dunn. Why were the Capitol Police and the Secret Service able to hold off a lot more rioters than was at the Capitol so-called insurrection, Capitol riot, and hold them off, but somehow there wasn't enough security around the Capitol building, knowing there's 400,000 people within a stone's throw there. You had tons of intelligence about asshats that actually were going to cause some damage. Where was the security? I watched videos of cops letting people through. They just moved down the barricades and let them run in. I heard one cop say in a video, hey, come on in. You got the right to protest. I don't agree with it, but hey, it's not my call. They got set up. Yeah, did they do it on their own? You bet. You put a cookie in front of a 2-year-old and tell him don't eat the cookie and then leave the room. What do you think he's going to do? Come on. Yeah, they should go to jail. All the people that committed violence, all the committed property damage should go to jail. The rest should just get a simple trespass ticket. And the DEA agent that was outside the Capitol building never went in, who had his sidearm on with him, because he was an agent, and they knew he was there, and so was the informants that were in there as well. Unbelievable. Where was the security on the south side of the Capitol building, the entire side of the Capitol building, with 0 police officers and 0 security, not even a rent-a-cops? Where's your answer to that? And if you're wondering where that came from, that was from the chief of staff of the Secretary of Defense. And why, Mr. Dunn, weren't you asked? You're a Capitol Police officer. Several days before the rally, where a lot of these rioters came from, President Trump, Secretary of Defense, asked the mayor of Washington, D.C., we can send in thousands of National Guard troops to secure the building. And she said, no. I smell some unrefrigerated fish here. I do. But you weren't asking any of those questions. Why? Because this is a kangaroo court. It's a joke and it's a farce. Let's read on. Dunn also criticized members of Trump's administration for covering for the president, regularly hassled Fox News' Laura Ingraham and Carlson. I'm embarrassed to have once looked up to you, Secretary Carson. This is Ben Carson, former brain surgeon, a guy that came from nothing, absolutely nothing, that walked down the public library on his own to read and learn as a boy. It's an amazing story. Became a world-renowned brain surgeon. That's a big deal. This is Mr. Dunn's response to Ben Carson. I'm embarrassed to have once looked up to you, Secretary Carson. You have sold out and are acting like a narcissistic and egotistical as your boss. I expected better. Dunn tweeted his former U.S. Secretary of Housing and Urban Development, Ben Carson. You have sold out. No, what you're saying is, you brainwashed moron, is, don't you know, Ben? Come on, Secretary Carson, Dr. Carson. Don't you know? All black people have to be liberal Democrats because all black people think the same. You left the plantation. You sold out. What the hell's wrong with these people? Since you brought it up, this is from Ben Carson, I know what it's like to actually be sleepy, especially after an 18-hour surgeries and operating on babies in the womb. I hope that Elon from Minnesota knows I care about all people, even though she doesn't recognize as having the right to life. This is also Mr. Dunn criticizing Ben Carson. And this is also the credible witness, Mr. Dunn. I hate Tucker Carlson. What an out-of-touch asshole that has no clue about anything that doesn't look like him or agree with him. Get over it. Hashtag get over it, he tweeted in 2019. It doesn't look like him or agree with him. That's your problem, sir. Remember, all black people think the same. It's basically told Mr. Carson, Dr. Carson. Incredible. And then, of course, he shows, that again. Unbelievable. Now, this is the one that I take the most exception to. This is from Officer Dunn's testimony. One woman in a pink MAGA shirt yelled, "You hear that, guys? This N-word, I won't even say it, voted for Joe Biden." Then the crowd, perhaps around 20 people, joined in screaming, "Boo, effing N." No one had ever called me an N-word before while wearing the uniform of the United States CP. Really? Really? That's some pissed off drunk guy? Not some ass? And here's the amazing part. There were thousands and thousands of hours of audio and video from the January 6th riot. Everywhere. My God, the FBI is still going through videos, and almost all of them are on the social media sites of the people that filmed them. It's amazing to me. A guy of that big stature physically in a Capitol Police uniform, having 20 people scream the N-word at him over and over and over, and nobody caught it, and not one witness testified to that except for him. Isn't that interesting? Do you believe it? I don't. Oh, here we go. Yeah. This is what Officer Dunn also said. Laura Ingraham posts, "We believe in America. We believe with hard work anything is possible. We believe in the goodness of men. Equally for all, equality for all, opportunity for all, protection for our freedom, optimism, restoration." And this is this asshat's response. Only if they're white and share the same views as you. Trash ass human. This is the credible witness they put up. Of course, the two Republicans on there said nothing because they were anti-Trump morons. Just a couple of weeks before he gave his testimony, Dunn also cheered on known Russian hoaxer, Democrat Representative Eric Swalwell, for telling the truth about the Capitol riot and condemned Fox News for not having him on as a guest. Oh, you wanted national attention. Oh, and then you had the balls to call Dr. Carson a narcissist? Incredible. Incredible. It's amazing to me. This is from Harry Dunn as well. Eric, how the F is this okay? Mike Fannin and I have been invited to talk at every network imaginable. However, Fox News has no desire to hear from people who will destroy their narrative with the truth. Because the guy is a tribalist. He's an ideologue. My God, are you kidding? Why would they have him on there? They're not there to tell the truth. You're there to spin a tale, your ideology. Clips of Dunn crying during Tuesday's hearing buzzed around the internet on Tuesday. Yeah, it tore at my heart. Often paired with corporate media headlines lamenting the officer's reported experience with the insurrectionists. Dunn, an open Biden voter, that's okay. Good for him. Claimed in his testimony that rioters called him racial slurs during the January 6th riot. According to Dunn, it was the first time he'd ever been verbally assaulted for his skin color while wearing his police uniform. Bullshit. Some guy he was arresting or some clown that was either high or crazy never called him that before? I doubt it. Others on the Capitol Police Force he recounted reported similar experiences. Is this America? I began sobbing in powerful testimony to members of Congress. Officer Harry Dunn recounted the violent racial slurs he and other black officers experienced on January 6th. Yet, the funny part is, Mr. Dunn, Officer Dunn, to be more respectful of your position and not the person, where's your evidence? Thousands of hours of video all over the place. And yet, nothing pops up. Isn't that interesting? And all those things prior to the riot, you said, and you're a credible witness, honestly and truly? You got to be kidding. Yeah, you're right, sir. You've got to be kidding. And this is what passes as justice and fact-finding now in the U.S. House of Representatives. Unfreaking believable. You believe this gentleman? And I'll say gentleman, I'll be respectful. He's a grown man. He's a police officer. And here's the other part. How the hell did this happen to begin with? Between the Capitol Police, the D.C. Police, all kinds of Secret Service, and every government agency you can think of, every department has their own police force. There's more cops per square foot in Washington, D.C. than anywhere in the country, maybe even the world. And a few hundred people got in? Really? This whole thing stinks. Am I whitewashing it? Absolutely not. Those morons did what they did. But it makes you go, that this gentleman has selective outrage, like most progressives and leftists, and ideologues and tribalists. Their ideology controls their every minute of every day, their emotions in their brain. Nothing truthful facts have zero to do with anything. Where was your outrage, sir, when your fellow officers were getting beaten on and almost lit on fire a few times defending the White House, which they did successfully? But somehow you, sir, and your comrades couldn't get enough guys together to protect the Capitol of the United States while there was joint session to count and certify the electoral votes. Things that make you go, I don't know who believes this crap. I really don't. And there's not Donald Trump to hate anymore. See, here's the problem. Remember Trump derangement syndrome? Well, that still goes on. But these people are lost. Trump withdrawal syndrome might be worse. What this is all about, folks, is one thing and one thing only. to try legally to make sure that Donald Trump can never, ever run for president again. They are terrified of him. Not because he's a nut, not because he's some kind of lunatic and would do incredible harm to the country. They're scared to death of him because he's going to expose all of them. And they're doing it to themselves. They're not even hiding it anymore. I have no idea how long this gentleman's been on the Capitol Police. A number of years, a little bit gray in his beard. He's probably been there a few years. It's amazing to me. Absolutely amazing. You make up your own mind. And anybody with 3 brain cells touching would not blow off or whitewash the Capitol riot. But they whitewash and blow off all the riots prior to that. And a riot on the White House. That's an insurrection too. But yet they said nothing. He said nothing. Actually encouraged it. So you decide for yourself. Credibility is everything. And in Washington, credibility is incredibly short supply. And until next time, goodbye and good luck.